Today we're talking about why your fish oil probably sucks. Now, it's not just fish oil. A lot of supplements can actually be pretty questionable when it comes down to it, but today we're talking specifically about the science of fish oil and why a lot of products aren't really what they're marketed to be. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of human evidence and research to support the use of fish oil for health and longevity and a number of different benefits, but today we'll be breaking down why most fish oils actually suck and you're not getting what you're paying for.
What's up and welcome to Sam Miller Science, where you're joining me just over a decade into my personal journey of working to bridge the gap between metabolism, macros, muscle, and medicine, all while helping coaches scale the impact that they desire and deserve. If you are here, thank you so much for listening and for trusting me to help you elevate your coaching game or to lead you in your transformation to realize your true potential. In either case, each week I'll be sharing my methods, models, and message to serve as leverage for your specific goals. Without further ado, let's get on to today's show.
Now, for fish oil, the omega-3s, EPA and DHA are really those important ingredients or constituent components of fish oil that we really value. And it's been a hot topic recently, whether it comes to mental health and overall neuroinflammation, or just discussing systemic inflammation in the body, cardiovascular health, and so much more. People even look at fish oil for things like joint health as well. So lots of reasons to get that EPA and DHA. And if you're not taking fish oil, there's a pretty good chance that you should be. But there's certain things you need to know when you're buying a product. We always want to be savvy consumers and customers and make sure that the dollars that we're spending are really going towards a good quality product. So keep listening. Inside today's episode, you're going to find out why. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode, and give it a thumbs up to help the algorithm. If you are listening in the audio only form on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a rating and review or screenshot this show and share it with someone who needs to know how to get the goods when it comes to their fish oil. So when someone thinks about fish oil and why they would take it in the first place, the answer lies primarily in two main fatty acids, EPA and DHA. DHA is a critical component of our brain cell membranes, and EPA is necessary to help control inflammation, which everyone in our modern day and age can certainly benefit from, especially in a society where we have high levels of omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. We want a little bit more of that omega-3. We just have the standard American diet and a number of different problems in our environment and lifestyles that contribute to inflammation. These fatty acids are essential to our health, and the only way we can get them is through consuming a lot of fatty fish or through supplementation. So a good metric or kind of mnemonic to think of, right, is so if you are not eating salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring, you're probably not getting a ton of omega-3. Now, can you get a little bit from something like cod liver oil, for example? Those are going to be a good source of fat-soluble vitamins, but really when it comes to the omega-3s, EPA and DHA, these are very, very rich in those. Now, if you're vegan or vegetarian, some people will make an argument for flax as an omega-3. That's actually mostly ALA, so we're not necessarily discounting the fact that there are other sources of omega-3s, but EPA and DHA are really what we want to focus on and spend our money on. Some people will consume vegan DHA as algae, but there are a number of benefits that come specifically from fish oil and these highly concentrated doses of EPA and DHA. So you have to ask, why would my fish oil suck? Or why would these fish oil products be maybe not what you bargained for? So I'm going to cover three specific reasons. The first is that they're very, very likely underdosed compared to the doses used in scientific literature, or what's basically used in humans to see the actual health benefits that they're using in their marketing terminology. So if they're talking about cardiovascular health, well, are they actually using a dose that was proven or correlated with positive outcomes from a cardiovascular health perspective? If you just do a run-of-the-mill Amazon search for omega-3 supplements, the first 5 supplements have on average 250 milligrams of DHA and 300 milligrams of EPA. Not hating on Amazon specifically, the same thing would be true if you went to a number of different websites or you grabbed it off the shelf at a pharmacy. This is pretty poor compared to the doses that we see used in research studies for different purposes. So let's go through a few rapid fire facts on fish oil and really help to create kind of appropriate perspective and have these facts from the literature alongside the doses we're seeing, at the store, over the counter, or online. For cognitive performance issues like memory recall and speed of processing, in one study, the positive effects were only seen at a dose of 1,200 milligrams of EPA and 900 milligrams of DHA. Those taking half that dose did not see the effects. So looking at what was found on Amazon, right, that's like a third of each of these values, maybe even a quarter. The story is similar for depression. A 2019 meta-analysis states, current evidence supports the finding that omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids, EPA being at least 60% mix at a dosage of 1,000 milligrams, would have beneficial effects on mental health and depression. When it comes to metabolic health, such as insulin sensitivity and blood triglycerides, we may need to go even higher, and doses range from 1,000 all the way up to 4,000 milligrams of pure EPA in studies. When it comes to pregnancy-related outcomes, so people taking fish oil for pre- and postnatal care and overall health, and women who are breastfeeding, we see in basically higher levels correlate to higher IQ children, higher brain volume, better pro-social behavior, lower risk of ADHD and autism, and significantly more benefits when pregnant and breastfeeding mothers supplement with 1,200 milligrams of EPA and 800 milligrams of DHA. Again, most over-the-counter supplements are only coming to about a fraction of that. And the list goes on, right? So most of the research is showing these higher doses. As a general rule of thumb, it would be beneficial for most people to get about 1,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA. Now, if you are kind of balling on a budget, right? Maybe you're shooting for 1,000 milligrams at first, it's kind of your total, but ideally we're working to 1,000 milligrams of EPA and 1,000 milligrams of DHA over time, especially if we're really trying to make strides in terms of our health and use this as a preventive. Be warned though, you have to look at the back of the bottle where the ingredients are listed, because not all products are going to have this type of hefty dosing. Many products will say something like 3,000 milligrams of omega-3s on the front of the label, but when you look at the actual content, it ends up being much, much lower. As a final warning on this topic, Consumer Lab has also identified that many of your cheaper brands not only contain significantly less EPA and DHA than is what even listed on the back of the label, but some of these products, they need to be batch tested for things like mercury and heavy metals, because when we consider the health of the fish is going to play into the quality of the product. So a lot of fish do actually have things like mercury and heavy metals that need to be considered. So we do want to buy from a reputable brand or ask for third-party testing, which is going to be a theme throughout today's episode. The next reason that your fish oil might suck is that it's oxidized or damaged. Damaged fish oil, and it can still be sold, and your bottle's not necessarily damaged, but the quality of the fish oil capsule may be in question. Depending on the study you look at, around 20 to 30% of your general brands of fish oil are actually rancid or oxidized. These damaged fats could be causing harm. Current research shows that they can harm cholesterol levels. So it's things like your LDL and HDL, but we also know that damaged fats can cause oxidative stress in general inside the body, which may generate a form of inflammation. This is the exact opposite of what you want your fish oil to do. Most people are actually taking fish oil to combat inflammation, so we don't want fish oil actually contributing to inflammation via oxidative stress or taking these rancid products. In other words, while Amazon is tempting to buy from, I would veer away from them when it comes to buying your fish oil, especially Amazon products, cheaper products, or really it's not just Amazon, right? If you're buying from a company that does not have a climate controlled warehouse, or like not as climate controlled as it should be, remember, just because a product like paper goods or a mattress or non-perishable food items could be stored there doesn't mean it's great. Fish oil is best in like a cool, dark place, and typically we want to be mindful of those shelf conditions when buying that. So cheaper ones on Amazon tend to be older. A lot of companies will use larger websites and brands to essentially offload products from their warehouse when they are getting close to expiration date. So some people actually have bought products that are very close, within a month or two of expiration, thinking, oh, I'm going to buy a couple bottles because I take fish oil, only to realize that it's actually quite close to expiration. And it's not just the expiration. A lot of these places may sit in warehouses where, even if they have a little bit of air conditioning, a lot of places actually have non-air conditioned warehouses, but some of the warehouses may use a bit of climate control, but it's not to the degree where it's going to be as cool as your home or a cool, dark place where you may store your fish oil, meaning the heat could potentially contribute to the damaging of fats. Also, when things are transported and shipped, you need to be mindful of the conditions there as well. Kind of a similar concern in some cases with certain types of probiotics, really depending on the brand as well. Last reason that we may need to consider switching or substituting our fish oil is it could be contaminated with heavy metals or other impurities. Most of the fish that common fish oil is derived from have built up levels of things like arsenic, cadmium, DDT, lead, mercury, and PCBs, which are a type of endocrine disruptor. If the company making your fish oil doesn't go through a rigorous purification process, there is a chance that these things could be making it into your fish oil capsule. In fact, a Nutrisource Diagnostics test basically went through 1,894 different fish oil samples, and they showed that many had higher levels of arsenic, which is obviously toxic to the body, and PCBs that were basically in excess of the volume that would be allowed or what should be in your product. So please, for your safety, and if you're listening to this and you're a health and fitness professional, nutrition coach, please make sure your clients are taking a good quality product. And it's tempting because sometimes even different fitness professionals, influencers online will have partnerships with brands who happen to carry fish oil, but it's a very low dose EPA, DHA, and it's also maybe not tested to the degree or has the level of scrutiny that it really should when it comes to a good quality fish oil. So buy from a reputable brand, and if you have a brand that you're loyal to, just ask for third-party testing and see, if their customer service is able to provide anything in terms of that. If they're not, I would maybe do some additional digging, because that's something you really want to be wary of. There are also websites out there that will provide info on this for certain brands like Consumer Lab or LabDoor, which provide testing, and those are two good ones. So there we have it. Plenty of amazing reasons to take omega-3s like EPA and DHA for mental health, pre and postnatal, basically taking it for the health of a newborn baby and then breastfeeding. Plenty of benefits for cardiovascular health and anti-aging and longevity, but we need a good quality fish oil at the appropriate efficacious dosing in order for it to move the needle when it comes to our health. So again, we'll recap the three main points from today's episode. Number one, we want to make sure we're getting a good dose. Work your way towards 1,000 milligrams of EPA and 1,000 milligrams of DHA. This doesn't have to be spot on. So let's say you get to a point where you're at 12, 1,300 or 1,400 EPA, and maybe you're at like 1,100 DHA or 900 DHA. Just try to get towards it where the combined is closer to 2,000. If you need a little mini goal to start out and you're kind of saving up to get a better quality fish oil supplement, maybe shoot towards that 1,000 combined and then go from there. For example, some good quality products may have around 800 or so EPA and 500 plus DHA combined. And if you're taking 2 of those capsules, that's going to get you over 1,000. Eventually we want to work towards 4, but it can obviously be something that is an expense for people. So just target that and work towards the 2,000 combined, or basically 1,000 and 1,000 over time. We also want to make sure that these fish oil products are not oxidized, nor should they contain heavy metals or endocrine disruptors. All of this can be done by buying directly from a reputable brand and not on Amazon, or asking for third-party testing for your current favorite brand. So I'm not saying, that you have to stop taking what you're taking, but ask the questions and do the research to make sure that this is appropriate for you. What I'm going to do for you guys is actually, I typically don't do a ton of ads inside my show, but I know that I'm going to get questions about what are some good products. So I will list some examples in the show notes today. So if you're on YouTube, we'll be sure to put it above the comments section in the caption of today's episode. And if you are listening on audio, you can go ahead to the Spotify or Apple Podcast show notes, and we'll include a link for some reputable products that have good amounts of EPA and DHA and also have third-party testing. So we always want to make sure, even if you're not buying fish oil, right? Let's say it's another supplement product, third-party testing is a good thing, and we want these supplements to have good manufacturing practices, third-party testing. So you'll see GMP facility, third-party testing, and ideally we have a non-proprietary blend, meaning we can see what's in the product, right? So proprietary blends, we can't necessarily break down and discover like individual ingredients. It's just going to be like hyper performance matrix, and then in that'll say, okay, 780 milligrams combined, right? But we don't know like how much is from XYZ supplement, how much is from ABC supplement. It's just a combined total. So with fish oil, we definitely want to be seeing EPA and DHA, not just total omega-3s and not just total grams of fat. I will add a bonus tip for today's episode. The more that we can get the higher concentration of EPA relative to total fat grams, that's like a very, very EPA and DHA rich source of fish oil. So if the total omega-3s relative to total fat and the DHA and EPA is climbing, so let's say there's only like 2 grams of fat for the capsules, but the EPA and DHA is very, very high, that's also a good sign as well. So we still want that third-party testing, still want to make sure that we're getting a pure and potent product, and be mindful of things sitting in warehouses for long periods of time. And you can also do that by having brands with good storage practices and things of that nature, just to make sure that when you're making an investment in your health, you want to make sure that these supplements are actually working for you and they're good quality products. So I will link some examples below the episode. By no means are you guys obligated obligated to do that. And doing so, make sure you get a good product, and it does support a little bit of the work that we do here. But that is not my main focus. My main focus is mentoring health and fitness professionals through our Metabolism School family of programs, one of which is our live nutrition and metabolism specialization program. So even do things like omega-3 testing or the omega-3 index, looking at someone's highly sensitive C-reactive protein, looking at levels of inflammation in the body and other indicators of health, like cardiovascular health, for example, someone's lipids, their triglycerides. So if you find an interest in that type of blood chemistry and the connection between nutrition and things like triglycerides, cholesterol, insulin sensitivity, even looking at ApoB and overall cardiovascular risk markers, you're definitely going to want to check out the nutrition and metabolism specialization. You can find that at metabolismschool.com. So EPA and DHA, great supplements to include in your regimen. Also understand, if you're a vegan or vegetarian, you are likely consuming either an algae-based omega-3 or a flaxseed-based omega-3. Now with flaxseed, we do have to convert that ALA in order for it to be as beneficial in the body as something like your omega-3s from fish. Remember the SMASH acronym. So most people in their, when it comes to food and nutrition, if you're asking, how do I get this from food and not necessarily from supplements, that's going to be your salmon, your mackerel, your anchovies, and sardines, as well as herring. So most people not eating a ton of those. I will say sometimes it can kind of sneak in, or maybe you eat some sushi here and there, but for most folks, they are not getting enough omega-3s from things like wild caught fish. That is today's episode on why your fish oil and most fish oils kind of suck. And to be honest, a lot of supplements are questionable, but at least now you know what to do, how to approach buying a good quality fish oil, and really maximizing that investment when it comes to your health. If you enjoyed today's episode and it would be helpful for someone else, please go ahead, screenshot the episode, share it with them, or do it the old-fashioned way. Grab a link, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Sharing the show is the number one way that my team and I can grow this message and contribute and provide this content to individuals worldwide. So sometimes talking about certain health and fitness topics, it's not always the favorite for certain aspects of the algorithm, especially if we're talking about items that, for example, just recently went through a recent study on the aftermath of some things that happened between 2020 and 2022 as it pertains to mRNA. And so sometimes things get throttled a little bit. They don't always necessarily get the algorithmic traction that they should based on the download metrics that we have when we look at things like our syndication platforms and what's going on in Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So you can do your part in sharing this message and this truth and evidence-based information by just paying it forward to a friend or maybe a client, or just sharing it wherever you share stuff. You can always tag me on social media. I'm at Sam Miller Science on just about every major platform, and you can learn more about what I do at sammillerscience.com. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for lending me your ear today. Hopefully you learned something new. If you did learn something new, comment below on YouTube. Let me know what that was or what you plan to do. What's your action plan when it comes to your fish oil? If you're listening on the podcast version and you tag me in your stories, I'd love to DM with you a little bit about this and see what you're up to when it comes to your supplementation. So hope you have an absolutely fantastic week. Thanks for tuning in to another episode, this time talking about fish oil, and we'll be back soon with another show.